I'm Danny, welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about my reading goals for the year. I'm new to BookTube and I picked up reading again last year after a long hiatus. So a large part of setting and sharing these goals is reflecting on what my priorities and plans are, and also allowing room for discovery and finding a community. The first goal is the simple one. It's the total number of books I want to read this year. That is 60 books. Last year I read 80 books, so I think 60 is pretty comfortable, but I want to leave room for life happening. My second goal is to read 12 books honored by 12 different book prizes. I found last year that I really loved tracking book prizes and just using them as tools for discovery. I don't think I'm ever in the near future going to have the bandwidth or even necessarily the desire to read the full long list for the Booker Prize, but I do want to use these prizes as a way to keep up with contemporary fiction and translated fiction and nonfiction. Most of the prizes I intend to keep an eye on award literary fiction or nonfiction. Next week on February 12th, the Women's Prize for Nonfiction is being announced, so that's the first one on my radar. But I also have a couple genre-based prizes like the Arthur C. Clarke Award and the Ursula K. Le Guin Prize. My next goal is to read 4 classics. I find that I really enjoy reading classics when I get to them, but I find it hard to find the motivation to pick them up. So with contemporary fiction, I'm more likely to be influenced, or maybe a book prize motivates me to pick something up. But with classics, I'm like, well, I've gone so long without reading them already. Why should I pick it up now? But last year I did read a number of classics. I read Jane Eyre, I read Rebecca, I picked up Huckleberry Finn in anticipation of reading James, and I also picked up a couple of more modern classics or genre classics like the Dispossessed and the Gilda stories, and I really enjoyed those. So if you have any recommendations for classics I should read, please throw them in the comments, because I find it kind of hard to narrow down what I want to read in terms of classics, but I really enjoy, most classics are classics for a reason, you know? My next goal is to reread 4 books this year, and this is really a little bit more outside of my comfort zone, but it does dovetail in with my next goal. I don't really reread much. I don't really rewatch movies. I don't rewatch TV shows. But as I get older, I guess I'm feeling like, I know I read that, but I don't really remember it. And so I'd like to revisit some old favorites, or maybe some of the classics that I read in college but don't remember anymore. My 5th goal is a lot more specific than the previous ones. It is to read the first 4 books in Dorothy Dunnett's House of Niccolò series. Okay, I put my coffee down so I can show you. I love Dorothy Dunnett. She is one of the few authors whose books I own. I have like one bookshelf with books on it, and most of them are hers. Her Lymond Chronicles series is my favorite of all time. I read it a decade ago probably, and she is probably my favorite author of all time. I was in the middle of reading the 3rd book in the House of Niccolò series when I started my PhD and basically quit reading for the last 7 years, and so I really want to go back to her. The Lymond Chronicles, which is the first series I read from her, is a set of historical novels set in 16th century England. They start in Scotland and then go through France and Malta and Russia. And her writing is just so well researched and sentence for sentence gorgeous. The stories are very melodramatic and filled with political intrigue and action in a way that I mostly associate with high fantasy books. There's an old NPR article called "All the Writers You Love Probably Love Dorothy Dunnett" that I think can explain her writing style better than I can. I'll link it in the description below. But all of this to say, I want to get back to her books this year, and I want to start with that series that I never finished. And so the House of Niccolò series follows a young man named Nicholas who lives in Bruges at the start of the series, and he grows up throughout the series. He starts as a dyer's apprentice and then becomes a much more important person in the fabric of Europe in the 15th century. I expect I will do standalone reading vlogs for each of those books throughout the year because I just really want to savor these reads. I know I love Dorothy Dunnett's writing. Then in terms of a more traditional reading challenge, I just finished up my Reddit Our Fantasy Book Bingo for last year. These are challenges that run from April to the end of March, and so I just finished the 2024 version, and the 2025 version will be released on April 1st. I really liked doing this challenge because I tend to read a lot of literary fiction, but I also love speculative fiction, and when I fill out this challenge, my goal is to fill out every square with a genre book, whether that is fantasy or sci-fi or horror. And then finally, my last goal is not really a reading goal, but more of a channel goal. I'm playing it pretty loose. I just want to try and get out a video a week and just improve my talking to the camera skills and my editing skills and get some experience under my belt. So I think that covers my reading goals for the year. It seems like a lot of goals in my head, but frankly, a lot of them will overlap with each other. And so I really do still have tons of room to explore, even if I only read 60 books this year. Let me know in the comments, what are your reading goals? Do any of them align with mine, or are they totally different? Or are you not the kind of person who sets reading goals for their hobbies? Let me know.